On the wall, especially for the people who are for the first time with us, it's good to have here an introduction, because as believers from the Gentiles we have a history, and that's not a good history. It's a blood-stained history against the Jews. So it's good to talk about that before we go up on the walls. And I want to use actually these two statues as a picture, also to remind later. This guy, the little man on the big horse, is a Muslim. Some say it is Suleiman, the others say Saladin. Doesn't matter, we call him Suleiman. Suleiman the Magnificent, he was the one who said we are going to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. And he fulfilled prophecy, because in Isaiah you will find back that God says, foreigners will rebuild your walls, O Jerusalem. Well, Suleiman did this. Yeah. But at the same moment, when you have your huge projects, you need money. So what did he do? Raise taxes on trees. Yes, that was not what we had in our own country. He did it. When you have a tree, you have to pay taxes. So what happened? People had trees but no money, because the people were poor in this land. So they chopped the trees. And this land became a desolate waste. Again, a prophecy. God told Israel, if you do not obey my commands, my decrees, this land will become a desolate waste. And Suleiman was the one who helped make this a desolate waste. So yes, he fulfilled prophecies. He deserves a statue, but put him a little bit aside. And a lot of people walk along and never see his statue. The other guy, you see a nice cross on his t-shirt. Leader of the Crusades. Godfrey van Bouillon, maybe a Richard Leeuwen, a Lionheart. Leader of the Crusades. And when you talk about the Crusades, we are talking about our Christian history. Actually, Crusades started long before the Crusades with the Church Fathers. Augustine, Chrysostomos, Origenes, Marcion, all these well-educated people. They knew a lot. They had their differences, but in one thing they all agreed. God is done with Israel. Throw it away. And then they developed the Christian theology. And this Christian theology is still today in your church. But if you have a Bible full of the promises of God for Israel, and you say God is done with Israel, and now I'm going to develop theology, you will make mistakes. So the theology in your church must have mistakes. Maybe we will find some today, and maybe it will shock you. Doesn't matter. It's good always to think and look back in the Word. What does it say? The idea that God is done with Israel, for whom are the blessings? For us. That was what the Church Father says. We are spiritual Israel. So all the blessings are for us, the curses are still for Israel, but the blessings are for us. Replacement theology was developed. We replaced Israel. Amen. And then we had a leader. Then we had a leader in Rome, the Pope. He said, when we are spiritual Israel, we also need a capital. And that must be, of course, Jerusalem. Let's go to Jerusalem. Kick the Muslims out, because those are the enemies of God. And it will be our capital. And we gathered in Europe, in Holland, in Flanders, in Belgium, in Germany, with nice crosses on our t-shirts, but like idiots. What did we say? Why go all the way to Jerusalem to find the enemies of God? We have them here in Europe also, the Jewish people. And on our way to Jerusalem, we killed every Jew we could find in the name of Christ, cross and church. Mainz, Worms, Jewish communities, we wiped them from the earth. We came in Jerusalem. For one instance, we gathered more than 900 Jewish people. And then we are talking about mothers in labors, grandfathers, grandmothers, little children. We brought them to the wooden synagogue in the center of the city. We closed the doors, put watchmen in front of the doors so nobody could escape. And then we arsoned the synagogue. We burned them alive. Can you imagine? We burned them. We never heard this. I'm sure you never heard it. When somebody is burned to death. But it must have been awful. The screaming, mercy, please, mercy. You believe in the same God we believe in. You know, we didn't have mercy. But we couldn't stand the screaming. So what did we do? We sang our songs. Psalm 118, for example. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Wow, he gained us this victory. And when the fire was gone and all the Jewish people in the synagogue were dead, we went to the church to celebrate Holy Supper. Welcoming Christianity in Jerusalem. It didn't stop with the Crusades. After that, the Inquisition. The Inquisition was not the Catholics against the Protestants. No, it was the church against the Jewish people. Jew, your religion is inferior. You have to get rid of it. Be baptized. If not, again, we will burn you to death. The pogroms, East Europe. The priest who said to his congregation, when you come to the service, bring your bats with you. Because after the service, we are going after the Jews, because they crucified Christ. They are the enemies of God. Starting on Good Friday, Karfreitag, Good Friday, here we came to church with our bats. And after the service, we went and we killed the Jews. And we took a few months, but in a few months, 600,000 Jews killed in the name of Christ, the cross and church. 600,000 Jews beaten to death by people who said, we believe in Jesus, we believe in Christ, we believe in that same God of the Bible. Beaten to death. Can you imagine? And it didn't stop. It didn't stop. What about the Holocaust, the Shoah, in the center of Christian Europe? The soldiers, the Nazis, all these soldiers had Gott mit uns on their belts. Most of the Nazi soldiers were baptized. They went to church. For the Jews, they were Christians. There was no question. We said, no, they were not real Christians. Well, for the Jew, the Pope is a Christian, you are a Christian, the Nazi was a Christian, Adolf Hitler was a Christian, Stalin was a Christian. They were baptized. And they called themselves also coming from the Christian world. This is our history. The Shoah, the Holocaust. 6 million sons and daughters of God killed in Auschwitz. And what did the church do? Big silence. And sometimes we even have the pictures of the leaders of the church raising their right hand for this crazy man from Austria, for Hitler. Sieg Heil, they cried out. They kissed him, they embraced him, and Hitler killed the Jewish people. And yes, we know the exceptions. In Holland, Corrie ten Boom, Dominee Pontier. In Germany, we know about Bonhoeffer. We know the exceptions. But it's so sad to say it are the exceptions. In general, the church was silent. In Holland, we prayed for a queen in London. And at the same moment, 100,000 Dutch Jews were killed in Sobibor. And we prayed for a queen. It's good to pray for the queen and for the kings and whatever. But it shows something. We didn't want to know what happened to our brother and sister. That is the story of the church, of Christianity. And it goes on till today. That still the church is writing their letters to the government of Israel. You have no right to have, you have no biblical right to have a claim on this land. The Scottish Church, the World Council of Churches, maybe representing your church, have these letters. You have no right to live in Judea, Samaria. Give it away, call it Palestine or West Bank. That is the story of the churches in general. And then the question, and what about us? We only can have an attitude of Father. Here we are, with our history. Forgive us. We cannot say it were they, the Crusaders, they, the Nazis. No, we and our forefathers, we have sinned. We did not obey. We did not listen. We are wrong and were wrong. And you can have the feeling, but I had nothing to do with that. Come on, my family was a righteous family. My grandparents helped the Jews. So no, none of my business. Well, maybe when you're from a righteous family, you're at the right spot. Because what happened with Daniel, for example? Daniel, you will read the Bible and you will find back that they could not find anything against him. He was righteous in all he did. And then Daniel went on his knees and he said, dear God, we have sinned. We have sinned. He didn't say your people have sinned. We have sinned. We and our forefathers. So yes, he identified with the sinful people. That's what we do also. We have sinned. And we say to Father, forgive us for what we have done. And we will never be silent anymore. We will remind you of your promises for Israel. We will not be silent in our family, in our schools, in our churches. We will never be silent again. We will remind you and the people surrounding us about your promises for Israel. And we will not pray for the nations, we will confront the nations, but we will remind Father of his blessings for Israel. That's what we do. That's how we go up on the wall. And if you want to join us, we'll buy tickets and we will proclaim. So, but this is what you had to know about our history. Where do we come from? This is where we come from.